Good morning, friends. And I'm just going to check on the volume. Okay. Today I pulled tarot cards, and the cards were pulled for the past, present, future. So what we've been working with, what we are working with, and maybe what we want to consider working with. So the first card we got was the Three of Swords. And the Three of Swords has to do with, the Three of Swords is a symbol representing sorrow. Not Zorro, but sorrow. Or in, I guess that's Canadian, sorrow, and American English would be sorrow, kind of with an A. Doesn't make any sense, but people complain when I say sorrow, so sorrow, borrow, tomorrow, potato, potato. Okay. So this is sorrow held in the mind or reworked in the mind. It's specifically negative thinking about the past, particularly the parts of the past that have produced sorrow. Three of Swords represents events or sorrow that have pierced our nature to the core, which is symbolized by the swords piercing the lotus blossom to its core with petals falling from its stem. The Three of Swords reflects a tendency in the mind to rework the old bones of the past, and particularly the parts of the past that contain sorrow or negativity. Okay, and so it's interesting how the tarot works, because we've got the card. What we've been working with is mental. Swords are about the mind. What we're currently working with is the Five of Swords, which is fear of defeat or memory of defeat. Here we have 5 bent swords, one of which has a handkerchief that's red with blood dripping from it, which representative of negative thinking that opens an old wound. There is an experience of fear. Fear has one function. I like when words or people or whatever say something like, fear has one function. It makes it pretty simple, which is to constrict. All the twisted lines in the background are showing the function of fear, which is to constrict, to distort, that bends one perspective or way of thinking. This is fear that history might repeat itself, or fear that one will be hurt again. So we got the past, which was deep wounds that were working, gnawing on the bones of old wounds. Currently, the Five of Swords is the fear of it happening again, history repeating itself, being hurt again. Astrological aspect of this card is Venus at the top of the card in Aquarius, the wavy lines at the bottom of the card. Basically, these are 2 fears held in the mind. One is fear that a new relationship may not work out, or 2, having fear of moving in new directions that are emotionally important. And the new directions are symbolized by Aquarius, those directions being emotionally important, and it's symbolized by Venus at the top of the card, and also symbolize the emotional fears of what you might not attain that's important to you in this new direction. So all of these fears only constrict us. on some level so they can motivate us. They can motivate us to realize how stuck our energy is and how valuable it would be to begin to let it move. So, don't know if I showed this card, but there is the Five of Swords, and the crown's upside down. So, the crown represents your awareness of the higher realm, the crown chakra, your connection to the higher realm. When it's at the bottom, upside down, it means a sense of disconnection from the larger world of spirit, if you want to call it that, or source, or consciousness, the larger consciousness. When one is in fear, one constricts and pulls away and is inside the mind, not inside their awareness of something larger than the mental construct. Okay. So where we're moving to is the High Priestess. It's a major Arcana Two, and there's a quote from Kahil Gibran from the Prophet that says, "For self is a sea, boundless and measureless." So doesn't that take you out of your head, out of your mind? Go out of your mind. And the High Priestess is about the principle of intuition. What do you really feel? Self-trust and self-resourcefulness. Intuition, independence, or interdependence, depending on others that one finds is in a similar place of opening. If others are like, oh, then it's like, okay, that's not a place where you necessarily want to be interdependent. And maybe when you want to be more independent. But when you find others that are of like heart, not necessarily like mind, or not necessarily just staying in the fear, but releasing the fear, then you have others that you can speak with, you can learn with, you can connect with, and you can build community with, because it is community that allows us to get through this whole thing. Whether the community is virtual, like we're a virtual community. Okay. This archetype of the High Priestess serves as a reminder that we are not to sacrifice our strength for our softness, or our softness for our strength. We're supposed to hold those in balance, our strength and our softness. The crystals in the card, and I don't know if I showed the card, but there's the card, and you can pause it if you want to search for the crystals in the card. But the crystals in the card represent the multifaceted aspects of intuition that are present at each level of consciousness. Mental intuition, emotional intuition, spiritual insight, physical intuition. Intuition is like the great still lake. Reflective, contained, deep, always present, waiting to be accessed and trusted. High Priestess is represented in different cultures in some of the following ways. In Egyptian mythology, she is Isis, the goddess of intuition. In Oriental mythology, she's Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion. Mythically, this archetype is also representing the journey homeward or the return to oneself. The High Priestess in Greek mythology with her bow and arrow is Artemis, the goddess of nature. And we are human beings aligned with, our human is aligned with nature. Okay, so mentally we've been gnawing on the sorrows of the past. Mentally, we've been feeling the fear and distrust of nothing's going to work out. We're going to just continually recreate the same stuff we created before. And what we're moving into is trust. Trust yourself. Trust your resources. Your ability to be resourceful. Trust your intuition. Trust your sense of the world and self and something working out and a larger consciousness of which you're a part is working these energies in the best way that consciousness can. Because we have all these aspects of consciousness. We're one of those aspects of the one consciousness. And we're thinking what we're thinking. We're doing what we're doing. And so we're all the other aspects of one consciousness. But as we come into relationship with the one consciousness of which you and I are a part of, we begin to find ourselves in more of a synchronous flow, more of a motion of working something together and trusting the process and coming from the heart. So this time is, can you come out of your mind? Can you go out of your mind into your heart so that your mind becomes guided by your heart? When you're in your heart, the fear just seems to clear. When you're in your head and in the constriction of the fear, it just seems to amplify. So, letting go of all that fear, dropping into the heart, finding your home in your heart, finding the compassion of Kuan Yin, the intuition of Isis, and the connection with the natural world of Artemis. Finding that balance in that trinity, Isis, Kuan Yin, Artemis. The mother, the daughter, and the Great Spirit. Well, this was very useful for me today. I pulled this reading for the world, and as I read it, I was like, okay, yeah, I worked quite a bit this morning with the world's fear as represented inside. Okay, that's it for now, and now can go change.